Hello everyone, my name is Jerry and my favorite Bible character is Daniel. The reason why I love Daniel is because Daniel's life revolved around God. Many of us know the story of Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel was a highly esteemed government official whose colleagues became jealous, seeking to get rid of him, and knowing that he was a religious man, his colleagues convinced the king to enact a decree saying that prayer can be made to no God except for the king. But Daniel did not waver when hardships arose. Even when Daniel knew the document had been signed, he still went up to the roof to pray just as he had done every day. Daniel did trust God. He knew that God is all powerful and sovereign. God was the central aspect of Daniel's life, and Daniel's life gives evidence of God's faithfulness and God knew Daniel. He knew Daniel's needs and what Daniel was struggling with. Thank you all. May God bless you.
Hi, my name is Patience. Well, on that challenge, I would like to choose my favorite character in the Bible. Elijah, I believe in him, or I was really touched by his story, his prophetic career in the kingdom of North Israel, guys. He was a prophet in the reign of King Ahab and King Ahaziah. Imagine, this is a man that kept proclaiming the word of God, telling everyone in Israel that there is no God except our God Almighty. And all of them were like, no, this can't be possible. But then there came a time where he had to pray and say, God send us fire. I think we all know that song, God of Elijah send us fire. So why I chose him is because the fact that, in a time where everyone is worshiping small God, people do not believe in your God, in your faith, and you still stand firm. He kept proclaiming, praise him, he kept preaching that we have to believe in one God, until that God never let him down, that God actually sent the fire. So ladies and gentlemen watching this challenge, I hope you also get touched by the story of Elijah, because today in whatever I do, I believe there is always one God. Even in times where maybe prayers are not answered the way you want them to be, but you just have to believe that even your friends out there who keep saying, she's actually failing in life, she's not doing well. He is failing in life. He's not even having a job, but he's actually praying to God. That God is going to come and you are going to walk that talk. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Philip Lumonia, and on today's Bible challenge, my favorite Bible character is Joseph. Joseph the Dreamer, a portrait of character and grace. A man who teaches us hope, patience, and resilience when life is miserable and in suffering. Now, Joseph's story begins in Genesis 37, when he is 17 years old. We learn that Joseph is his father's favorite, and his many brothers are already jealous of him. Then Joseph has a dream where his brothers bow down to him. Instead of keeping this to himself, Joseph lets everyone know. Joseph may have had other motivations for telling his brothers, but it's hard to believe pride wasn't a big part of it, especially considering that he told everyone about a second dream where his whole family bows to him. His brothers, already jealous, became furious. They worked together to get rid of Joseph. Instead of murdering him, however, they sold him into slavery. His brothers enjoyed a nice payday. Meanwhile, Joseph became a slave in the house of a man named Potiphar. Potiphar was an officer for the Pharaoh, the captain of his guard. In other words, Joseph landed in a pretty important house. Instead of acting bitter and intentionally doing a bad job, Joseph leaned into his relationship with God and worked to do his best. Good things happened according to Genesis 39 from verse 3 to 4. Despite being betrayed by his brothers and ending up a slave in a foreign country, things seem to finally be turning positive for Joseph. But it doesn't last. Potiphar's wife becomes attracted to Joseph and attempts to sleep with him multiple times. Joseph refuses to betray Potiphar, and his wife gets jealous. She accuses Joseph of sexual assault, and so Joseph gets thrown in jail. With the quality of his work, I'm sure Joseph had hoped to escape slavery soon. But going to prison was probably not the path forward he would have chosen. Once again, despite being in prison, Joseph continues to honor God with his heart and actions. He doesn't respond with bitterness, but continues to work with integrity, as Genesis 39 from verse 21 to 23 shows us the results. A cupbearer, a baker, who work for Pharaoh also find themselves in prison. They have some troubling dreams, and Joseph interprets them perfectly. The cupbearer will soon be released and promises to try and help Joseph get out of prison. Finally, things seem to be turning around. But then the cupbearer simply forgets, and so Joseph continues to wait in prison until finally the Pharaoh himself has a troubling dream. But no one can interpret that dream for him. And the cupbearer finally remembers Joseph. The Pharaoh calls for Joseph, who once again interprets the dream with wisdom. He explains the meaning of the dream in Genesis 41 by saying, "It is as I told Pharaoh. God has shown to Pharaoh what he is about to do. There will come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. But after them, there will arise 7 years of famine, and all the plenty will be forgotten in the land of Egypt. The famine will consume the land, and the plenty will be unknown in the land by reason of the famine that will follow, for it will be severe." Joseph then gives Pharaoh advice on how to respond to this fact, and Pharaoh responds by making Joseph his right-hand man. Joseph is finally freed from prison at an age of 30, or 13 years after being sold as a slave. Can you imagine? Joseph will lead the way when preparing for the 7 years of famine, and he does an amazing job. When the famine finally hits, Egypt is well stocked with food. Not only do they survive the famine, but they're able to provide for non-Egyptians who need help. And this is where Joseph's brothers finally return to the story. They're starving, and their father Jacob sends them to Egypt to buy grain. Joseph recognizes them instantly, but unsurprisingly, they do not recognize him. Joseph is now 40 years old and practically a king, and it's been 23 years since they sent him away as a slave. Joseph could have used his power to bring vengeance. He could have sent every one of his brothers to death or slavery. Instead, he chose mercy and grace. He forgave them, embraced them, and fed them. He brought his whole family to be close to him, and was finally reunited with his father once again. And that is what is interesting about the story of Joseph.
My name is Timothy Nwebiona from Kigezi Diocese. I worship from St. Peter's Cathedral, Rugarama. And my strong character in the Bible is Ruth. Ruth was a daughter-in-law of Naomi, and Naomi was married to Elimelech, and they gave birth to 2 sons who got married to Ruth. One got married to Ruth and another to Orpah, but later on the family encountered a lot of challenges while they were staying in the little town in Jerusalem, Bethlehem. And Naomi had to shift. They had to move from Bethlehem to a little town in Moab to survive. They were running away from famine. But when they got there as a family, then Naomi had to lose the husband. Ruth and Orpah had to lose their husbands as well. It means that Naomi was a widow, was left a widow without sons, and the daughter-in-laws did not have husbands, definitely. So Naomi was hopeless, but Ruth brings hope to Naomi and tells her that where you go, I'll go. Where you rest, I'll rest. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. She decides to keep with the mother-in-law, and comforted her. So she's a strong character. If it was another lady, I presume she would leave. But Naomi kept there. She kept comforting. Ruth kept there, kept comforting the mother-in-law, and it strengthened them. So it's one of the strongest characters that I learned from, and encourage every other person to keep encouraging the hopeless. We need to keep bringing hope to the hopeless people.
Hi everyone, how are you? My name is Phoebe Design. I'm Jay, and I bring you greetings from UCU Kampala campus. I had a very hard time choosing the most gifted person, but I wanted to choose Queen Esther because she's Queen Esther. But yes, as I went on further, Joseph won the bet, and this is why I choose Joseph. Joseph had a gift of dreaming. The gift of dreaming wasn't alone, guys. Joseph could interpret the dream. And not only could he interpret the dream, that dream or that gift of his led him to managerial positions in other states. He led a foreign land because of this gift. When the king was in a point or a position of dismay, guess what Joseph did? Joseph had the right answer. And that is why his gift won the bet today. And again, Joseph had a gift of self-control. When the queen wanted to tempt Joseph into other issues that are not nice issues, you know why Joseph said, no way, I will stand by my God. And this is very amazing. I chose Joseph.
Hi everyone, this is Victor Ian speaking, and through this week's Bible character challenge, my favorite character is Job, because Job was so faithful to God, and in that when Satan came and took over all his riches, took over all his sons and everything, he still remained faithful to God. Even when he fell sick and his wife told him to deny God, he still remained faithful to God. And with all that faith shown in all the times of the troubles he went through, he's my favorite character because he was strong on his faith. Yes.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Atai from All Saints Cathedral Youth Ministry, and my character is Paul the Apostle. Paul really fascinates me, first because of how God calls him. His conversion story is quite amazing. If you can have time, Acts from chapter 9 should really blow your mind. But even then, Paul continues to introduce himself as a servant of God, and we see that he was called to the Gentiles, and we have all been called to the Gentiles in this great commission, but he identifies himself as the servant of Christ. We see it in Romans 1:1, Titus 1:1, a servant of Christ, called to be an apostle and set apart for the gospel of God, a servant of God and an apostle of Jesus Christ, to further the faith of God's elect and their knowledge and the truth that leads to godliness. All these things he wore his great commission in a way. It really blows my mind. I am passionate about missions, and I think that we have all been called to missions, and Paul is a great example of how we should live lives as Christians on a mission with God. And so even when I think one of my best sayings of Paul is in Romans, when he says, I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of God that brings salvation to everyone who believes, first to the Jew, then to the Gentile. And for me, I take it personally because God really saved us. The same way he saved Paul, he saved us. And for us, we must desire that many should hear the name of God, many should bow down, many should live for him. And so finally, I just really want to read Romans 10, which says, for everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. How then can they call on the one they have not believed in? And how can they believe in the one of whom they have not heard? And how can they hear without someone preaching to them? And how can someone preach to them who has not been called, who has not been sent? So it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. And so, brethren, may we all be like Paul. and be the beautiful feet that take the good news. This is why I choose Paul, because I want to be those beautiful feet. I want to be passionate about God. I want to identify with the Great Commission. I want to live with an E, live the life that was before, and then live with an I, the life of Christ that I've been called to. Thank you.